All right, everybody. My name is Mitchell Holzer. I want to welcome each of you to the Tuesday night edition here for June the 6th or June the 7th, excuse me, with our Ask the Doctor segment. So we have Dr. Nick Jasani, who's a board certified oncologist, one of the founding members here with Wellness Biosciences, and we're excited to have him this evening and covering the topic of CBD. So really anything CBD related that you have a question on, feel free to send those questions in, and we'll relay those to Dr. Jasani. So with that, we'll go ahead, Dr. Jasani, if you could just go ahead. I know we have several new people on the call here this evening. If you could just give them a little bit of your background and then how you entered into the CBD cannabis space. We'll take it from there.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Mitchell. Good evening, everyone. A little bit about myself. I'm a medical oncologist. I've been practicing for about 15 years now. I do see patients on a full-time basis. I really entered this a few years ago as I noticed lots of patients were coming to me with these products. And it was very important to kind of figure out how they were interacting with the medications I was giving, the biologics, the chemotherapy, and why the patients were coming back and continuing to use these products. So I had to dive in pretty deep into the science. At the same time, I had met Dr. Patel, who's not on this call, but he had introduced me to Barry, and they were just starting out with WBRx, and I had kind of come on to it really early on into the scene when CBD was just kind of coming into more mainstream. And, it's been a pretty fulfilling journey, kind of learning and really diving deep, because there is no real strict guidelines to these products. And you really have to learn the science behind it. And there's lots of it. And then start to apply it and begin to see who to use it for and what patients and what ailments. And you'll hear me talk about this on our various wellness bioscience talks. And I'll touch on some of these things today. And there's a lot of physiology and science behind these plant-based compounds that people are using.
All right, thanks, Nick. And then if you could give everybody, obviously, you see CBD stores popping up everywhere. The $64,000 question is, hey, what makes WBRx Wellness Biosciences different than all the other CBD outlets that are out there? If you could speak to that, Dr. Jasani.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big lack of understanding of how complex it is to cultivate and process cannabis-based products. It is not like growing them just out in a farm and you can all of a sudden get them packaged into a bottle. They are very sticky substances. They hold a lot of heavy metals and pesticides. When you concentrate and process these, it takes significant technology from various processes to get the isolates or get the full spectrum products. And when you can begin to imagine that all of that is concentrated when you do it for the processing. So if you have a little bit of pesticides and a little bit of heavy metals, well, when you concentrate it and process it into an oil or pill or tincture, all of that will compound because you're taking out all the plant material and you're concentrating all of the physiologic material, but you're also bringing the heavy metals and pesticides. So it is very important to understand that quality makes a big difference. This is an unregulated field right now. Every cannabis product you see out there, at least from CBD, is not tightly regulated by the government. And there are a lot of products, I would say almost 60%, that probably do not have what they claim is in the product. And this was a big issue in the supplement industry. And the supplement industry, after about 20 to 30 years, is now starting to be somewhat regulated. But just like in supplements, you can buy 20 different products of turmeric. Well, I would say a very small percentage of them will have what they say it's in them, and it has a lot of other fillers. Well, in cannabis, you have to be careful. And with CBD, you have to be careful because of the quality of the products, and the testing is very important. So, Wellness Biosciences does do a third-party certificate of analysis. That means they will not just take the cultivator and the processor's analysis of the product. They will do their own, which is more costly, but at least you can stand behind it. As physicians, we are giving this to patients. It is very important to understand that the product is exactly what they say it is. It has the right contents, and it doesn't have the pesticides and heavy metals based on the stringent metrics that are used by the labs that we use. And they do use certain metrics from very stringent states such as California and Nevada. So, I think the quality of the material is very important, and it cannot be overstated. And there are other products. I'm not saying only Wellness Bioscience, but I would tell you that there is a whole host of products that probably do not meet the stringent guidelines if you were to really test them.
Okay. All right. We appreciate that. Yeah. A lot of things out there, very complicated process. And so our firm is really investing in the approach with the multiple testing. Cost a lot more. So those batches right now, I know to test with the COAs, those are running about $800 to $900 a batch, right? To get those tested.
Correct.
So, which is a big deal, and most companies aren't doing that. So the next question I have here, just at a foundational level, what does CBD do foundationally in the human body that's most beneficial?
That's a very broad question, but I will try to answer it pretty quickly. There is something called the endocannabinoid system in the body with CB1 and CB2 receptors. They are throughout our body. This is an extremely complex system. It is there to maintain homeostasis. These molecules bind to those receptors, and they bind to a whole host of other receptors, including serotonin, TRPV1A, adenosine pathways. They work on the GABA receptors. What that means is those receptors are intrinsic to the human body. There is no way the human body is making receptors for a plant-based cannabinoid. It is all because we have endogenous hormones and neurotransmitters that already bind to these receptors. The plant cannabinoids were discovered that they were binding to these receptors and triggering various physiologic benefits. And right now, these are plant-based supplements. They are not medicines to treat a direct illness, but they work for sleep, they work for pain, they work for mild well-being and stress. Doesn't mean we go and tell people you take this for anxiety disorder, but the reality is most people do have some realm of anxiety, and this works a lot for stress with very little side effects. It not only helps with the pain and the sleep, we're starting to see that it helps with antispasm in the gut for certain irritable bowel syndromes. And this is all for well-being. We cannot, again, make claims that this treats the disease process until the clinical trials are done. And I do go into this more deeply from the scientific side into our talks, if you can come to them in our live presentations, and we will show slides of how they work and why they work. And remember, a lot of the sleep aids that we have on the market by the FDA work via the GABAergic pathway, just like Ativan, Valium, Ambien. Well, that is where CBD works also. It is a potentiator allosteric binder of those GABA receptors. So that is why you also get sleep benefit with it. It works in numerous pathways for pain, and it works for stress and anxiety because it spikes your endogenous anandamide. That is, all human beings have endogenous endocannabinoids. We all have them. So it spikes the natural ones we have, and it helps with serotonin pathways. That's why you start to feel well. And it works in certain critical areas in the brain where we know anxiety, PTSD, et cetera, is formed, and learned fears are formed, which is specifically the hippocampus and the amygdala. You'll be surprised at the amount of data there is from the neurology world and other international studies on the intricacies of the endocannabinoid system. I do think it will add to the medical curriculum eventually. It is coming.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. And then I would, second, support what Nick said, Dr. Jasani, as far as we have an event that if everybody on the call, we'd love to have you. If you're here for the first time, we're going to be hosting at our corporate office on June the 14th. Dr. Jasani will be speaking and getting in a little bit more detail about what we do. And that's going to be at our corporate office. So again, reach out to the person that invited you, reach out to us. We'd love to get you that information. over at the event for the McCarthy. So one question here that I have is that as I know we've had an adjustment in the legislation last December, it was where they increased the percentage of THC that was available. And so as the question is, as legislation moves towards higher percentages of THC, what does that mean for treatment options for the consumer, and then also for medical docs when they're working with different patients in their practice?
The THC is a bit complex. The THC is a very critical molecule when you look at the benefit when you combine it with CBD. In fact, a lot of the scientists that have pioneered a lot of the research in this have also stated this from the beginning, and we have figured this out over the last 10 years of using this in states that have legalized cannabis. The combination of THC with CBD in varying ratios has lots of benefit. In fact, it enhances the CBD at a certain way due to the ailment that you're treating. Now, sometimes it may just be an equal 1-to-1 ratio, and sometimes it may need to be a very high CBD to THC ratio for the elderly who you don't want to have the psychoactive component to it. Remember, CBD does not give you a psychoactive component. It mutes the effects of the psychoactive component of THC. So when you combine them, you can actually get benefit in the elderly without causing them any psychoactive, issues where they can fall, lose balance, get excessively high, and you get a compounding benefit from both the molecules. Now, remember, right now it's low. 0.3% going up to 1% is still very low. I mean, you would need a tremendous amount to get the efficacy you need from the THC, but it is coming. It is going higher and higher, and sometimes you'll be surprised. Very little amounts of THC can be very synergistic with CBD. From the doctor's perspective, that part of the question, that's different. Doctors don't prescribe cannabis. I mean, even in the states where it's legal, they don't prescribe it. All they do is tell the patient, you may be somebody who has an ailment that may benefit from it. Here's a card. And then the educated doctors may try to guide them on what product, but there is no prescription that they write. They're not trained in that. So that's why this is in such an infancy, this stage. Doctors are just learning. I'm also one of the cannabis physicians for Texas. And when I do give it to my patients, I will guide them on, use this dose, small dose, or this is what I'm giving you. I would prefer you do an elixir with a very high CBD to THC, etc. But right now, all the products you buy on the market are CBD with that limit of THC. So the physicians aren't really involved in that. That's over the counter.
Okay, got it. And so, with that, do you have another question? Somebody is, we talked about those cost of, the certificate of analysis. That is kind of what makes us different. Is there a projected time frame that you're hearing? And I know sometimes Dr. Patel, speaks to this, but is there a time frame in which it would be kind of standardized to where everybody is going to be required to have a certificate of analysis? Anything that you're hearing on that front?
Yeah, it may not be as everybody's required to have a certificate of analysis, but in general, what that question is asking is, when are the regulations going to come and tighten up from the FDA, etc.? I think it's coming. I would guess it's coming fast, 18 to 24 months, we think. They're also going to be able to delineate, can CBD be used or be considered a dietary supplement? Therefore, can it go into food products, etc.? Like, these are the things they're going to clear up. And yes, they are going to go after these companies making wild claims. It is very important that partners and all of us understand we cannot go and speak to people and state that these products are treating disease processes, etc. That is a no-no with the FDA. And two, we don't have the proof in that. It is a plant-based supplement that helps with various ailments. And that's how we kind of discuss it right now. But the regulations are coming, and I do think that they will be quite strict and they will tighten up over the next years or so.
18. Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Here's a two-part question, A and B, and has to deal with our products. I know we have we have four products. Most of those are full spectrum. And so the question is, which of the products are most likely, or do all of them, or which product is most likely to show up if there is a test from an employer? I know this gets asked a lot, right? In a lot of our discussions that we have, but which one, if you can talk about the different products and then their probability of showing up on a test.
Yeah, I mean, full spectrum products have not only CBD, but they have all the other cannabinoids and terpenes from that specific strain, ideally. And they may have some components of THC, although it has to still test below the state limit of 0.3% or whatever that state's limit is. Now, remember, THC is fat bound. So there's a lot of variables here. I mean, depends on how much you're taking and body habit is and what metrics they're using to test. A standard drug test, in all reality, should not be testing positive with full spectrum products. But is it plausible to test positive? Yes, it is. It has some THC. And patients with different body habitus, different adipose tissue, different exercise tolerance, the amount that they're taking, it is plausible they could test positive on any of the full spectrum products. It's unlikely, but it's not something that we can tell you 100% because it will have some THC in them and it varies according to each person.
Okay.
And low, I mean, very low.
Yeah. So if you were to kind of hone in, just to kind of dig a little deeper, if you were to hone in on the products, would it be safe to say, I know we have tinctures, we have a sublingual, and then we have the balanced gel cap. Would it be safe to say, if you would like to share with everybody, that out of those probabilities, would it be the balanced gel cap, since that goes to the digestive tract, that might be the one that would show up, or does that matter at all? Or
the one that you take orally through the digestive tract, remember, a lot of it is broken down by your liver and the rest gets into systemic circulation. The tinctures you hold under your tongue go straight into your systemic circulation. So depending on size and everything else, they're all equal. I mean, you technically could have a risk with any of them. I mean, it's unlikely again, but they are spectrum. So no, I wouldn't tier it. We can't rank it like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair enough. The second half of that question, I haven't heard this one before, but basically, how does that affect? I don't know if you have the answer to this, but how does that affect any denial for any health insurance by taking CBD? I haven't heard that one before, but I don't know if you've heard of anything, if it's affected somebody getting denied health insurance or.
No, I don't think so. I mean, when you sign up for health insurance, I don't see that they're asking or checking that.
Yeah.
It should, in theory, it should not affect you whatsoever.
Okay. Got it. All right. So the next question is, if you could explain the difference between Delta 8 versus Delta 9, and then what is the current legalities regarding those products?
Yeah, I mean, those are different. If you look at the Delta 8, where a lot of people are trying to use it as a circumvent around the THC laws, because it can still give you a psychoactive component to it. It is true, it can, but you have to be very careful because states can come back around and just block it and say, hey, Delta 8 is like Delta 9, and we're not going to allow it right now because there is a psychoactive component to it. Now, they both can give you the same benefits. The problem here is you're starting to isolate out Delta 8 and use it in products where there is a big gray zone in certain states. So you have to just be careful with that in how you use it. It doesn't mean that it is a toxic compound. It mimics just like THC. So, and that's how you feel in the sensation. And you may not feel it if you use it at the right doses with the right ratios with CBD. But once again, you have to look at your state laws and then see how they're using it and how they're cultivating it.
Okay. And the difference, if somebody kind of new to the cannabis space, hey, what's the difference between Delta 8 and Delta 9? Any main differences?
No, I mean, they're just cannabinoids that come from the cannabis plant. There's hundreds of them. There's like CBG, CBN. Now, Delta 8 and Delta 9 are very similar, but I will tell you in the coming years, you're going to see lots of these different cannabinoids come out. You're seeing CBG come now, you're seeing CBN, and there's a whole host of THCVA. The precursor acidic compounds of THC are being found and used. So I think that there's not that big of a difference, but they are different products and different molecules, and that's probably why and how they're trying to circumvent the state guidelines by using them.
Okay, and then also legalities of it. I know Delta 8, when I know Barry had spoke to Dr. Patel about our position on Delta 8. We kind of stayed away from it. I know then it was banned, and then I guess now it's back where it's available. Is that the current status of Delta 8?
Yeah, I don't know what the Texas law is specifically. They keep going back and forth. Last time they had blocked it, and then now I think it's starting to seep back. It's such a gray zone. We told them stay out of it for right now.
Okay, fair enough. If you could talk the next question, I guess looks at the which companies, if any, I know we've talked about this in prior calls, but which companies is there any CBD product that is FDA approved right now?
Yes, GW Pharmaceuticals product. It's a very good company. It's been around since late 90s. They've done the most amount of research. They have a product called Sativex that is out, and Epidiolex for seizures and pain, and they're about to come out with another one for pain. It is a pure cannabinoid and THC from the plant. It is not synthetic. And Jazz Pharmaceuticals bought them for like $9 billion for that technology, and they are FDA approved. And they have, by the way, thousands of clinical trials and secondary trials they've done, for primary trials for trying to hit their endpoints for seizure and pain. But they have secondary trials showing improvements in sleep, stress, and lots of other things. Their website is actually quite interesting. They've got lots of data.
Yeah. Okay. So that could be a resource for somebody
Yeah.
wanting to get some more information
Yeah.
regarding CBD. What does it do? How does it affect the body? All that. Okay, great. A couple more questions here, and then we'll be done. Is how does CBD, a regimen of CBD, how does that work in integrating with other medicines that somebody might be taking?
Yeah, for the most part, I think it is fairly safe. Where you start to get some interactions is patients on medicines and anticoagulants. So I just steer away from it because there may be some interaction in the liver. But for the other most part, we don't see much reactions. It's pretty well tolerated with most other medications.
Okay.
And overdose on these products. Remember, THC or you cannot overdose on them, even if you mix it with stuff, unlike opiates, alcohol, and Valium, etc.
Okay. Last question, then I'll turn it over to Barry for any closing remarks. It has to deal with our sleep product, and that can that be used as a standalone product? I know some people they take magnesium, a number of different things to be able to sleep. Lots of issues with sleep. They want to know. Does the sleep, do you have to like take more of it? Does your body adjust to the dosing when you start? Does it adjust to it where you just got to take more and more of it, like some other drugs, to be able to sleep? If you can talk to them.
CBD doesn't really create that kind of tolerance, actually. You may have to go up to find your right dose, but after that, no. It's unlike the benzodiazepines like Valium, Ativan. You have to just need more and more. That is not how CBD works physiologically on the receptors. And many times you can kind of stay at your dose and it is still efficacious without requiring you to need a higher and higher tolerance.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the most of all the questions. Barry, I'll turn it over to you for any closing comments. Again, thank you, Dr. Jasani. We really appreciate all the value both yourself and Dr. Patel bring to the company, and I think that's a huge differentiator with Wellness Biosciences versus a lot of the other companies out there. And so again, would just throw out to everybody to if you have some time next Tuesday, June the 14th, we're going to be at the McCarthy, which is where our corporate office is, up in the Sky Lounge on the top floor with some good food and drinks. We'd love to have you out, invite somebody out, and we're going to have a great time showcasing the company and getting into a little bit more detail. So if you like what you heard today, then you're really going to like Tuesday. So with that, I'll turn it to you, Barry.
Yeah, thank you, Mitchell. And of course, Dr. Jasani, thank you very much. Appreciate your time on the call. It's, and I'll segue from what Mitchell just mentioned. If you really got, you felt like you kind of got a little bit out of tonight, just a quick few questions, half hour of time, I just highly recommend that you come to that event Tuesday, the 14th, because it gives Dr. Jasani an opportunity to kind of dive in a little bit and go through some of the details, and add to that some visuals, some slides, so that you can see, exactly the different components of how some of the concepts with the endocannabinoid system and how that relates to to the cannabis based products that we have. Ours are CBD below the 0.3 limit, as Dr. Jasani mentioned. And we're excited about, a new product that we just brought out, Relief Plus. That is a roll-on that is doing a fantastic job. We're getting really good reports back on that early on. And I just believe that we're going to continue to be able to roll out new products that have good, efficacious results. And we stand, firmly on, on the quality. That's kind of our mainstay. That will never change. And, we're going to continue to evolve, as the industry grows and as regulation comes on. I think we're going to become more, our brand is going to become more value added. We've just integrated an affiliate marketing compensation strategy that is extremely lucrative. And I think that Mitchell was talking just before, he's got his brother chomping at the bit. He had his whole family at the last event. Guys, we're really taking a pretty broad approach and helping people as they make a decision to get involved with us from a business perspective, go out and really start recognizing, the values from a financial perspective, but it really begins with the quality of our product. That's where we really stay strong on that. And we're always actively looking and wanting to do everything we can to continue to educate, give fact-based information, not make pie in the sky claims, but just stay with where we know we can usher in a great result pattern. And we will be discussing, also the WBRx biologics. We're going to be talking about our wound care system, a wound care program as well. We hope to have a physician there that can speak more specifically and directly to that concept. We're working on that. So just want to invite you out to come enjoy that time with us. We do have a brunch and learn on Saturday that I will be managing. I'm not sure that I think Mitchell may be out of town that day, but want to really strongly advocate coming out for that. Love to help you guys get any details and answers to any questions you might have specifically with respect to to the products that we have and also our compensation. So that's all, Mitchell. Thank you very much for hosting this call. Appreciate it very much. And thank all of you for attending.
All right, everybody have a great night. We'll see you Tuesday and Saturday.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Dr. Jasani.
Thank you. Bye-bye.